on a podcast talking about my relationship problems. Like, what? I mean, do you think any healthy relationship
Number one red
be?
flag.
The fact that you're here is the red flag.
Yeah. Basically, I could give anybody who comes on this show the advice, break up with him, break up with him, break up with him.
Dear Shandy. Welcome back to Dear Shandy, listeners. Our next guest this evening comes from far, far away. It's very exciting.
Yep.
Very exciting. I think you're our first international caller.
Wow.
Yes. So our guest today is Elle. And Elle, why don't you tell our listeners where you are in the world and your question?
Hi, I'm Elle. I'm from Singapore. And the question I wrote in with was, I'm trying to think right now. Well, it was a pretty long one, but it was basically, why does my boyfriend have some kind of issue with apologizing when he's late? And because I keep forgetting all the scenarios, the last time this happened, I made very sure to note it down. Like, I wrote it all down and everything so I wouldn't forget. And so I would be justified in complaining about this. And well, it basically went something like, we were meant to meet a friend together, and I said I would drive over and pick him up, and then we would go together. And I was waiting in the car, and I had to make a few loops because the place I was waiting at, there were other cars chasing me, and I was feeling quite like anxious and irritated. And then after 2 rounds of being chased by people, I called him and I was like, hey, where are you? I don't think I said hey at all. I was just like, where are you? And then
there was no greeting.
Yeah.
It was just a where are you?
Where are you is so much angrier than hey, where are you?
It's so true. That hey makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's like no pleasantries. It's like, where are you?
Yep.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, I'm right here. And then I see him strolling from the entrance of his apartment, and he's just walking with a drink in his hand, and he's just like, he's making no effort to rush at all. And that just pisses me off so much because I always rush when I'm late.
Yeah.
And then he gets in, and then the mood is so hostile, and we're both like, we can tell that we're both annoyed at each other.
But how is he annoyed at you in that scenario? Why
He's
is he
annoyed at her for being annoyed at him?
Yeah, exactly. Which I feel
he's
is like,
the one who's late. You had a set time.
Well, yeah, clearly there's an
Yeah.
issue. That's why she wrote an email to a podcast about it.
I'm trying to understand why he could be that annoyed with her annoyance.
Well, let's get into the.
Let's finish, and then we're going to have a lot lot for you.
So let's see. Okay, how long you?
Okay, yeah, go. You go.
Oh, okay. How long have you been dating?
3 years now.
3 years, and this has always been a problem.
Well, I think it always has been, but it's just that earlier on, I don't think we both expressed the full potential of our feelings. I think we always kept trying to keep it under. Mm-hmm. And as people, I think we're both quite like, we always tend to want to hold back. Like, neither of us are explosive.
Right.
So, yeah, so I think we kept it up for a good period of time. Like, I would get annoyed, but then I would just kind of tell myself to get over it. And and then, and it's only really started surfacing in full strength in the last like maybe year and a half.
It's blossomed.
It has blossomed.
That is one nice way of putting it.
So when you say it's come to pass, so you're saying you get into actual fights about it now.
I don't even know if it constitutes an actual fight. It's just a very like cold, frosty exchange.
You know what? This is becoming something else. I think it's a conflict issue.
Yeah, this is more about your conflict resolution. From what we're gathering so far.
I have so many questions now.
Okay.
At first, I thought it was just about a guy being late. Now it's everything.
Well,
yeah, it is a monster.
I guess for me, the question is it just about the lateness? Like, I gather that you're more annoyed by his demeanor in being really late than actually the fact that he's late. Like, if you felt like he was rushing and he was making an effort, then you would be more understanding.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is a 2-part question. My first question is, you've expressed this to him, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how many times?
Almost every time, but I think...
But most times he's been late. after a certain period where you were no longer just sort of being polite with each other, you were really letting each other know how you felt.
Yeah.
His reaction, he understands that it's about more so the effort and the apology and just the general attitude around it, and not as much about the lateness, correct?
I guess I don't think, I'm not sure if he actually really knows that. At least not until the latest conversation, because previously it would always kind of, I would keep holding it back, and then, but at the same time, I wouldn't be able to fully get over it. So he could tell that I would be annoyed the whole time. And then it would keep snowballing till the end of the night, where then we would sit down and I would be like, look, I was so annoyed because I just feel like you're not making enough of an effort. And then, it stopped being about the small, mundane thing that it actually was. It was really just about, please show me that you're apologetic about being late.
Yeah.
And I always tried to say like, oh, well, is it because it makes you feel inadequate that, like you don't like it when you've done something wrong? And do you just think that by not validating its existence, then it just didn't happen at all? Like, does it make you more comfortable to just deny that it happened at all? But, I don't think he ever really got there. So I'm either wrong or he's not ready to confront it, or this.
It's okay. I have so many questions.
We both have a lot of questions.
So, okay, on average, well, how many minutes is he late when he's on average lateness? What are we talking about?
Usually it's about 30 minutes on average.
30 minutes? Whoa.
30 minutes late?
Oh, that's late.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
regularly?
That's very late.
Not regularly, but when it happens, it's around there.
And how often is he 30 minutes late? Let's say in a month, you do 15 things, like where you have to be on time or it's nice to be on time. Like how many times out of those 15 is he late?
About maybe just one or two.
One or two.
And is there any other behavior he exhibits in your relationship that is also disrespectful of you or your time? Like there's two ways of being late. There's two types of people who are late to me. There's the person who has terrible time management or time conception.
That's me, by the way.
Yeah.
An ex-boyfriend of mine called me a time optimist.
Right. They just don't have an idea of
I just
what
have
an
very bad time management. Yeah. I'm like, this is definitely enough time. And then it just sort of snowballs and I just lose track of it. And even when I think I'm giving myself extra time, it just sort of, I run out of it. It's not my favorite trait about myself, and I'm certainly getting better, but
I'm like that as well.
Okay. So do you feel that in his case, it is column A, so it is just sort of poor time management, or column B, which is?
Right. Which is, he doesn't have enough respect for other people's time or other people's anything. He's just sort of a little selfish.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to think that he's an optimist, but it's also the fact that he's very free about his time, in the sense that, the times that he's been 30 minutes late, it's never that I sit p.m. sharp and then he shows up at 7:30. Usually in those instances where he's 30 minutes late, it's because I say, oh, we should have dinner. And then he says, yeah, I get off work at 6:45. And then the expectation is that we are going to meet maybe about like 20 minutes after you get off work, because that's the amount of time it takes. But then at 6:45 or maybe 7, he'll say, oh, I'm on my way now. So it's usually that free form, like mismatch of expectations, I think, that's always causing this.
To me, that sounds like column A.
Time management issue.
Time management. And he does text you. It's not like in that situation, at least, he doesn't just show up half an hour later. There is sort of like, oh, I'm leaving now. Like he does check in, correct?
He does. But then I want to hear oh, sorry, like, because there's that expectation that, we have that kind of unsaid expectation that, if you say that you're going to be done with work at 6:45, then that means that you're going to get here at 7:15. But if you text me at 7:15 and say, I think I'll be 40 minutes long, without saying, sorry, I think I'm going to be longer than expected, then that's just really annoying to me.
Is he from Singapore?
He is, but he's from a different culture within Singapore.
Okay. That's why I was curious if there was a cultural difference there.
So my question is does this bleed into other aspects of his personality? Like, is he in any other way selfish or disrespectful of your needs or your time? Or is there any other aspect in the relationship
or your feelings
where he is, kind of sucks?
Yeah. Yes, actually. So I was so unwilling to confront this maybe about a year ago, but now I'm just like trying to be honest with myself. And the truth is, I know he doesn't respect that I get very emotional. And I am a very emotional person. I can accept that. But I know he kind of thinks it as a weakness when I display these like when I show these big displays of emotion. Yeah, because he doesn't allow himself to feel that way. And I think, he's had a complicated family history, so he often like suppresses his true feelings. And I think he sees it as weakness when I get teary or like,
you think or you
something.
know.
I know. We spoke about this and, I said, well, I think we fundamentally disagree and don't respect each other's ways of dealing with our feelings. And he said, yeah, I think that's true. Like he always wonders why I can't be a bit more, a bit more,
it's a good word.
Like just a bit more like I like rein myself in or to kind of manage. Like he thinks it's insane for me to be so like, to let my emotions flow so freely and be so volatile.
I mean, how frequently are you having an emotional episode? Because right now I'm not into the sound of this guy, to be honest.
Yeah, are you happy? Are you happy in the relationship overall?
No, I'm not right now. I'm in the point where I'm kind of assessing it and trying to figure out if this is right. I think in the past, we had a lot of really good times and we were able to communicate really freely because we both had that willingness. But I think we went through quite a bit of ups and downs with, especially on his side. He discovered family that he never knew existed in the past year.
Wow.
And yeah, so I mean, it's really heavy, but that was really when it all began. Like it took a huge toll on us because I always crave intimacy so much, and to the point where when something even looks missing, I start to zero in on it and start to overthink it. And I think at a time where he was drawing away, trying to figure out like his emotions and his sense of belonging and where he felt he sat in the fabric of his world. I started to feel like he was drawing away from me, and I think I approached it I kept asking him questions. Like I kept saying like, oh, what's up with that? Like, why are you behaving like this? And because I think he wasn't ready to confront it, we ended up just getting in so many fights. And it would really stress him out that I didn't give him the time. But, from my perspective, it's I need to know what I need to give you time for. Because to me, it seemed like a good thing that you found family you didn't know existed. Like, it seemed like a joyous thing. So I had no idea that, for a long time, I didn't know that he was going through so much. And I think all this misunderstanding just led to an inability to communicate after that. So
I gotta say, I feel like because you say all the misunderstanding led to an inability to communicate, but it kind of, I'm trying to find a time in your relationship where you said early on you did communicate freely. To me, I feel like there's
a mismatch.
Chasm. Well, I just feel like there's a chasm, like the fact that you don't feel fully comfortable to release your feelings and just fully express yourself. And then do you live together?
No, we don't.
Oh, you don't. 3 years.
Has there been discussion of living together?
It's not very customary in Singapore.
Okay. I was about to ask that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it just, for a 3-year relationship, whether or not you live together, I find, and maybe this is a cultural difference, but I feel a distance in this relationship.
Mm-hmm. Do you
agree with me?
Sure. I do too.
Yeah. Like if he discovers family he didn't have, like you would think that would be a time, if it were a moment of turmoil in his life, that he would lean on you and look to you for comfort as this constant that he's had since before learning that information and into post knowing that information. But to me, I feel like the lateness thing is sort of tied into that. I think
the lateness is like a red herring. I think the lateness just is sort of almost a metaphor for the fact that he's really not there when you need him.
Yes.
Oh, no. Hitting it with like this whole like metaphorical romanticism just makes it all the more like tragic in a way that I can accept and actually want to indulge in.
To be honest, when I read your email, like I had a lot of questions, but I thought if it's really just the lateness, or rather the apology surrounding the lateness, unto itself, if that isn't really reflected in other moments in your relationship, it doesn't feel like you're being dismissed or your needs for feeling considered, that doesn't apply to other things, then I'd be like, okay, pick your battles, an apology for late, not, some people just regard punctuality different than others, and it's not a deal breaker unto itself.
Oh, that is true, though. He did tell me that, well, I never get angry at you when you're late, because there have been times where I've been late, but I'm always rushing and I arrive timely and I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm late. And I always make sure to say sorry because it's something
but you're allowed to be late. You're a girl, right? Didn't we establish that girls are allowed to be late?
She hasn't heard. No. We recorded an episode that will come out tomorrow where Andy declares that women are always late.
I fully stereotyped women.
Yeah, and we're sure he's going to get a lot of hate for it. Well, and the joke being that he said 96% of his first dates have been late, which is a pretty astounding number.
But especially with the first date, it might just be because she wants to look unavailable.
Right?
That's what I was saying.
Yeah. Usually there's a reason like that.
I don't fault them. The only time I get upset on a first date, when I used to have first dates, was when it was like insane. When it was like 45 minutes, when I was just like, I had like 7 drinks by the time she got there. I was plastered.
And trust me, I relate to the boyfriend in this alone. When I'm meeting someone and they're really late, I have a higher tolerance for lateness because I know what it feels like to be rushing and to be late. So it doesn't bother me as long as we're not entering like really, really, really unacceptably, insultingly late.
The key word is rushing, isn't it? Like, don't you rush when you're late?
Well, that's my next point is if I'm 5 minutes late to meet someone, I apologize and I don't feel good about it. Like if I cannot be 5 minutes late, but after leaving the house, I do my utmost to be there on time. It's more so that the decisions before that sort of snowball, and then I'm in a situation where it's not possible to be on time. But that's why I relate to him just in the sense where it's like, I don't complain about you being late. However, the bigger issue for me here is the dismissal, how you feel your feelings are dismissed. Like you feel that you are not allowed to express yourself fully in your full capacity. You're not allowed to be your hot messiest self to the person that you may spend your life with is a problem to me. And I feel hesitant to say that. You've been together for 3 years. You can take everything we say with a grain of salt, but forever is a long time to spend with someone who you have to tiptoe around in any way.
Yeah.
It's true. But it's like, I think in the past we were able to, so when I say I was holding back, I would hold back for a whole evening. And then after that, we would let it all out and it would become more emotional than it had to be. But at least at the end of it, I always felt heard and it always felt resolved. And we didn't keep a log of things. But I think with that whole episode with his family, I think I came in with complaints maybe at a time where he didn't feel equipped to deal with them. And that's just caused a rift in the communication in the sense that I feel like I'm scared to say anything that's going to break the peace now because this peace is so precious and it's so hard to come by that you just want to preserve it as much as possible, even though it might not even be real. And
it's ad time, Andy.
Oh, yes, it is.
We are very excited. This is 2 of 2 for Hello Toshiba Day.
Yeah, we are both the proud owners of extremely well
cared for, lubricated, thoroughly cleaned, unchafed.
Yes. Keep going. I want to see how many characteristics.
Second most important holes in the body.
Yeah.
I also think weirdly, it's a weirdly good gift for the right person.
For the holiday season.
For the holiday season.
I want to mention something serious. This is serious. And I'm serious.
I'm sorry. Yes, very serious.
The Hello Toshiba Day will cut your toilet paper consumption by 80%. And I mean, for a guy, okay, that's fine. For a woman, that means that you're basically saving about 9 rolls of toilet paper a day.
You do have strong opinions about how much toilet paper women use.
I don't even understand what's going on in there. Like, are you just taking the whole roll off and just using it like a brush? Like, I don't understand what happens in there.
So the Hello Tushy bidet is good for the environment.
It's amazing for the environment.
And for the right person, a good gift, a funny gift.
Hilarious gift.
Yes.
Or just a good gift. It shouldn't be funny. There's nothing funny about a bidet.
It's only funny because for some reason, North America is weird about bidets.
It's so strange. A bidet, it's obvious that you should have a bidet.
Yes.
I've already discussed how absurd the toilet paper thing is. It's dry and you're using your hand. There's a million things wrong about how we go about this.
You know, I grew up with a bidet in the house.
Of course you did.
And I remember
you had a good family.
Are we making this personal?
This is personal.
If you want the Hello Tushy bidet in your life, you can get one for yourself or as a gift for the holiday season. You can get 10% off plus free shipping right now at hellotushy.com/Shandy.
That's hellotushy.com/Shandy for 10% off and free shipping, plus saving the environment, plus saving your butthole.
Damn. When you put it like that. hellotushy.com/Shandy.
Get on it.
How long has it been since he discovered this family thing? And how long was the turmoil? And then how long has the peace been?
It's been 1.5 years since that day. It was all so dramatic. He met his little sister in a carnival. He recognized her face, and
wow.
And he kept saying, like, I don't want to open that can of worms. You know, what if she already has a life? Like, I don't think we should connect. And I was the one who egged him on, and I said, no, you should do it. You should just do it. I mean, you're gonna regret this if you don't. And he did it, and now it's. I mean, I know it's wrong.
He recognized her out like at a carnival where they weren't meant to meet there.
It's crazy.
Yeah. He walked past and then we stopped and he said, I think I just saw my half sister.
It sounds like a movie.
That's a movie.
It is a movie. It's so dramatic. And there was a whole teary reunion. I mean, I was crying most of the tears because the two of them are so like resolute and resilient. They were just looking at each other, and then I was at the side like, crying my eyes out. I had family that wasn't even mine.
Wow.
Amazing.
Okay, so you said that was 1.5 years ago.
Yes.
And how long was the rough patch where you felt like you couldn't really speak your mind and you didn't really feel heard and you were tiptoeing?
Sounds like it's still going on.
Well, she said that now they have a moment of peace where she feels like she's sort of tiptoeing around. She doesn't want to lose the peace.
Right.
Or is it all the same? Is the turmoil and the peace, is it peace? It's
No, it's not together.
Peace.
So there was definitely a whole point of fighting because I just hate having things unsaid. You know, I always feel like I
agree.
need heard, and it always feels very frustrating for me to have to withhold my emotions. And I know this is something I need in a relationship. So but I think I might have not chosen the best times to bring these things up. I think I was also very demanding and wanting to know that he was right there with me emotionally and present.
So you're using the past tense right now. When are we talking?
We're talking between maybe
6 months after he discovered this, or a year after?
6 months after he discovered his family. That's when it started getting bad between us.
Is the peace defined by the absence of dealing with issues that need to be dealt with, or is it an actual peace where you
is it like harmonious? Is it more that you're both
is it an
just
avoidance
avoiding?
piece or like an actual peace? Sounds like an avoidance piece.
It is avoidant, but it's also that, you know, we both came to that realization that we were fighting so much and whatever we were doing just wasn't working. So we both kind of let go of that need to fight, and then we just said, you know, let's just try something else. Like maybe let's just try being friends again and like doing friend-like things to enjoy each other's company. And then we started doing that, and you know, we do make very good friends. So it's like when we have a shared interest, things are good in that sense. We laugh together a bit more, but we're unable to get to the meat of, you know, what I always thought like love.
That's a problem. I'm sorry. That's a problem. Our last episode 5, we brought Margie, Andy's ex-fiance, who's a therapist. You know, a big part of her, her relationship mistakes that people make is the conflict resolution. You, as she said, you need to feel like each time you fight that you are at least are like at the next level. Like the next time you have this understanding, you come to, you don't just solve the fight and then next time try not to fight again. Like, of course you don't want to fight all the time, but you would hope that each time you fight, you learned something about each other and you both implement that in how you move forward together. And that's what concerns me, is that you said that you'll fight and that you'll kind of come to an agreement, but that you just sort of, it just sounds like you said, it's sort of avoidant. The peace is not because you've reached this new level together. It's more so that you've kind of done a loop-de-loop and you're back where you started, sort of.
And I'm so aware of this. It's so frustrating to know that there was a time where, you know, every time we fought, it felt like we understood each other better. And then that all went away. So I think the difficult thing about this is knowing that it has the potential to be like that. Because I know it's happened before, like that feeling of growth and knowing that, okay, you know, we understand each other. Let's do better. And then for that to suddenly go away and for our fights to just become like hitting a wall every time and then us trying to avoid it, like it's become such an unhealthy thing. And I think it's harder to let go of because you know what it can be. And I don't know if that's something worth holding on to.
No, and I know, and trust me, we would never, I don't want it to ever sound like, you know, you've invested 3 years in this person. You certainly know him better than we do based on this short call. But
sunk cost fallacy.
I just really strongly feel that something productive must come of your fights and that you cannot be afraid to have them at all. That's to have a life together. If you just want to date him for a while, that's great. And I know you know how good it can be based on how it has been in the past. But you know, there's a reason people break up. It's not like things look the same in the beginning than they do at the end. It's how it works for everyone. I think personally, and you can jump in at any time, Andy.
Okay.
I personally feel that the tiptoeing has to stop. It must.
I know. It is an impulse on my part, and I understand that that's something that I have to get rid of. I'm just so afraid to get to that point where, you know, claws are out and we get into a place that's so raw and emotional. I mean, do you guys think that there are some things that are truly insurmountable in relationships, or do you think
I personally think that if he's been exhibiting this behavior for this long, I think it might not be something that's going to change.
I'm concerned that it's been, you said, 1.5 years since he discovered this, and I fully recognize how jarring. Well, no, I can't fully recognize, but I have an idea of how jarring what he went through is. But that was 50% of your relationship ago. Mm-hmm.
I know, I've done the math. I'm like, I'm going to be unhappy for 50% of this relationship. And I don't want that number to keep getting bigger.
Can you remind me how old you are and how old he is? I don't know if I got that part.
I'm 26 and he's 28.
Okay.
Have you ever broken up with somebody?
Yes. But there was always that underlying, the times I've broken up with people, I've never been sure that I wanted to be with them. It was always kind of something that I fell into or just kind of happened. But
so you're sure you want to be with this guy?
I mean, at least I was at one point. So I am saying that the times where I have broken up with people, I've never at any point felt like, oh, I really want this to happen. Right. It was just something that I kind of fell into, and it started working, and it kind of took me along in its current rather than me having set my mind to it, I think. And that's what because I just don't want to live in regret. That's my biggest fear. Like, I don't
That's me too. Yay. Yes. I mean, not yay, but I totally relate to that. I have a legit phobia of regret. It's a deciding factor in almost every major decision I make.
Exactly, because it's also the fact that you just don't want to. I just want to be able to live with myself. So anything that happens, that it'll be fine as long as I can always justify it in hindsight and say that, well, I made that decision because it was the best I could do with the information I had.
Yes,
even if it was the wrong one in the end.
We're very similar people.
How do you think he would? How do you think he would react if you said, I'd like to just take some time apart?
I did try to say that once, and that was the beginning of this year. And that was the point. In January, that was the point where we went from turmoil to
peace,
pretend peace.
Yeah,
pretend peace.
Yeah.
Armistice.
That was the point.
So, do you think that you scared him into sort of behaving himself, like at least putting on the air of behaving himself because he was worried you were going to leave?
I think so, because he really didn't see that coming. And then, he had a big overhaul of, feeling confused and scared. And then, I also thought that because he was so scared to break up, I was thinking, okay, maybe he's getting a bit too dependent on me, like the idea of having me as a safety net. But after that was when, he started becoming a bit less scared of having difficult conversations.
Okay. That's
but
promising.
because he was making that effort, I also didn't want to push it on my part. Like I was so happy with that progress that I was scared to kind of take another step forward.
That's fair. You sound very...
She's very reasonable.
You sound very reasonable and very intuitive, frankly.
I'm just wondering, again, I know I asked you this before, but are you happy? You said you weren't really happy. Like, are you, how often do you see each other? I don't know. Like,
we see each other about 2-3 times a week.
Okay, so regularly. How excited are you when you're about to see him? Like, are you is your heart fluttering, or are you just like, okay, here we go again?
No, not at all. The thing is,
3 years though. 3 years is kind of. 3 years is I don't know if.
But you should be at least looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Like we live together. I have to see you all the time.
But I know you. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, do you feel like a sense of anticipation? Like you look forward to the days where you see each other?
If I didn't live with you, I'd be very excited to see you.
Yes, I agree.
And I'm very excited to see you every day, but it's like I see you all day.
No, but even when we have something planned together, there is
We're going to break up now.
Yeah.
This is our first big fight.
So, but yeah, that is a good question. Do you feel just a sense of anticipation those 2 to 3 times a week?
I do, but it's because I exist. I feel like this relationship exists in two forms. The one that's actually unfolding and the one that's in my mind where I'm uncertain of whether it's going to be the one. I think all my life I've always put this expectation on finding the right relationship, the perfect relationship. And I think because of all my uncertainty there, it affects what happens in the version that's actually happening in real time. So I get excited because we say, oh, we're going to go to the beach and that's fun. And I look forward to it. But then in the back of my mind, there's this looming cloud of knowing that I don't know if this is really going to work out because there are all these problems, these cracks in the big picture ways, even though I enjoy our day-to-day so much.
So when you go to the beach, is it fun? Do you have a blast?
Yeah, we have a good time, but it's only because we don't touch on the things that make us vulnerable and uncomfortable and raw. It's like because we never venture into that ground, we get to have a good time together. But I know, I intuitively know that that's not, it's not the true contentment and happiness that I can feel. Like I know this about myself, and I think existing in this state of like discontent is so difficult to get out of.
Can I ask one thing? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm squirming listening because I'm not. Yeah, you go.
You sure?
Yeah, you go. I won't forget.
Don't make us squirm any longer.
Sorry.
No, I'll remember. You go.
Just getting back to the lateness for a second. But okay. So lateness to me, if you're going to think of it as a sort of a negative thing, I associate with being irresponsible, like not reliable. You cannot rely on this person to deliver when you need them. So does that lateness flow into other parts of your relationship where you find him to be unreliable?
Yes, actually. Sometimes he changes his story a lot. Like, there was once where, you know, I was in London and I was feeling quite homesick, and he was back at home, and I said, "Hey, I'm feeling really bad. You know, I feel breathless," and it sounded like a bit of an anxious state of mind that I was in, and then he saw my message. And then I saw him active on Instagram, and I tell you, I blew up. I completely lost it. I was like, you saw my message and you didn't think it important enough.
He didn't reply?
Yeah. So he didn't reply immediately. And I know I only gave it like maybe 5 minutes. But, you know, the fact that I saw him active on Instagram, that made me so annoyed. And then after that, we had a whole fight about it. He apologized. But after that, he disabled the function where you get to where people get to see.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
That was the lesson
so
he
angry.
took from that.
Yeah.
I know,
Unbelievable.
Be smarter next time.
Oh my God.
Can
okay.
So
okay.
I was
I'm going to
so
say one
angry.
last thing.
Yeah,
I think it's very interesting that you came on this with this lateness thing, which was now completely, I feel like, just pure symbolism for the fact that he isn't there. He's not there. And you need someone who's going to be there for you when you need it.
True.
Reliability.
And I hate to be...
Reliability, by the way, before I met Andy, I literally wrote down my absolute deal breaker must-haves. These are not superficial things. They're not how tall he is or how much hair he has or what his style is like. It was the fundamental things about a human that you can spend a life with. Mm-hmm. And one of my four things is not a lot of things, by the way. That's a lot of like distilling down. One of those four things was reliability. My question, after I'm done writhing, there's a lot of discomfort I feel about this. First and foremost, because, and I've learned this from experience, just because you've invested time in someone and have spent a lot of time with them does not make them the right person for you. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it takes learning that the hard way over 10 years, and sometimes you learn that in a year. But having invested that is not the equivalent of like, okay, well, then this is probably right. Mm-hmm. So that's number one. The second thing I want to ask you is, I didn't ask you that, I just said that. But the thing I want to ask you is, you know, we're hearing your side of the story right now.
Yeah.
If you could speak for him, if this were like a therapy session, which of course we're never claiming that we're therapists, but let's say he were here right now on the sofa next to you, what would be his gripes about you?
He would say that I tend to always take what I'm feeling in the moment to be the absolute truth, and that I always prioritize how I'm feeling instead of what the situation calls for. I think that would be a gripe. Like, he always thinks that I blow up at very inopportune times. And it's true, I blew up once on his birthday. that was bad.
Were there other people around?
Yeah,
Were there
No.
No, it was just
no. So I don't blow up in like an explosive public way. It's always I'm very sullen, and then it just dampens the mood. And
okay. And you can't shelve it. Like, you're not able to sort of sweep it under the rug and bring it up at a later time.
I wasn't then, but then I've developed this talent now, which I feel like is a bad thing, but I can't really be sure because it makes it more functional. He would say that I am a bit, I guess I am a bit particular, especially when it comes to this lateness thing. I think he will wish that I was a bit more easygoing with time, as he is.
Do you have something you want to say to that?
No, I just keep going back to the idea that the lateness thing really just represents, it's like the fact that you're talking about the lateness is really representative of your avoidance of the major problems that you should be dealing with in the relationship.
You're right. It is sort of it's like the very tip of the iceberg.
You mean his reaction to his lateness or the actual lateness?
Just the entire saga around the lateness. The fact that he's that late with any kind of regularity. I'm a late person. I'm not that late regularly. The fact that there's no sense of rushing, there's no sense of like, your time is, I get that there's the time optimism thing. And this is coming from a time optimist, trust me. But I still don't feel good about being late. It's not like I just roll up and I'm like, here I am.
But I wonder if that's a defensive thing. I wonder if that's a defensive move on his part to, because he knows he can sense that I'm upset.
Okay, well, he's 28. Like,
that's true.
You don't roll up 30 minutes late to meet people in the world we live in. Like, at least not without some kind of an explanation or some sort of your time is also important. It's just a sense of respecting each other's time. And again, this is coming from a time optimist. So please, it means extra coming from me because I am already not great with being on time.
Mm-hmm. But you do apologize.
I don't feel good about it. That's what bothers me is that the lack of understanding how it affects other people. The fact that you're in a car doing loops.
Yeah, that was stressful.
Do you have...
I think there needs to be a talk here.
Yes.
I think you may have to consider another break.
Yeah, I want to, we say anything like that with a grain of salt. Of course, that's why I wanted to emphasize what he would say about you, because of course it always takes two to tango. And if you're not getting along or you're not really building off your conflict resolution or lack thereof, then you just really are not going to grow in the same direction as a couple. And that's extremely important if you want to spend life together.
Yeah.
It's true.
You have to grow in the same direction. Otherwise you're growing either alongside each other, or like even slightly, if it's just a slight veer over time, that's just going to grow. You really must, like Andy said, have a conversation, not be afraid of that conflict. And let me be clear about one thing. If his gripes about you is he feels you're very emotional, you're very reactive in the moment, or the truth, how you feel.
That always sounds like a bad thing, right? When you say that, someone thinks that you're too emotional, is that always a big red flag, or are there people who are truly too emotional? I always wonder.
I mean, it depends how you are emotional. I'd have to see it in action. Yeah. Like it could be a wide range of.
I think that people might have an issue with me saying this. I do think it is possible to be too emotional to the point where you're just like not helping yourself. Like you end up kind of spinning, going in circles. And again, you don't learn about yourself and grow from that to the point where you can function better and are just a happier person.
Yeah.
However, I have a big issue with anyone calling someone else too emotional, especially when it's your partner. It's extremely important that you feel comfortable to be yourself. I'm getting more and more angry and emphatic on this call, and I realize that. It's because I'm upset for you. I think it's important that you feel safe to express yourself and your emotions. Mm-hmm. And not feel like judged for it or, God forbid, told that you're too fucking emotional. Oh my God, I'm upset.
Yeah. And also maybe one of the reasons why you are so emotional is because you're so dissatisfied and you're like crying out and you're not getting what you need.
It's true. But I also do know that I have the potential to, I do put this into practice. Like I always blow things up. And then after that, I'll kind of be like, okay, it wasn't that bad. But I do have this like,
a temper
tendency to, it's not a temper. Like I'm never angry, but I go into this spiral where I'm like, oh, because he doesn't apologize that he's late, that must mean that he's the wrong person for me. Because if I were the right girl for him, then he would want to make me happy, and it just keeps unfolding into what. So one simple thing about being late can become.
What's funny about what you're talking about is that it can mean one of two things. The first is your intuition. I think a woman, not just a woman's, but anyone's intuition cannot be underestimated. So if you find yourself asking yourself this a lot, it must be heeded. Truly. And I never want to tell anyone to end anything. I'm saying is that if you constantly are in a state of feeling dissatisfaction with how your partner treats you, you're 26. Oh my God! Like you have many more years of dissatisfaction. If this
I was like, is that
change.
young or old? Like,
No,
am I too
it's-
old to
no,
have
that's
this problem?
extremely
No,
young.
that's young. That's
It's
young.
extremely young.
That's very young.
Yes. And the other thing that I think that can represent is just sort of overthinking things and spiraling and kind of dwelling on things that don't matter. And I cannot tell you which one of those two things this is. Only you can decide that for yourself. I'm
It's
afraid.
true.
That's work you got to do for yourself, is decide whether you're creating something that isn't there and and just sort of brewing too much and
Yeah.
going to a dark place unnecessarily, or if this is your gut is telling you something and you're like, well, I know how good it can be or how good it has been, or, oh, I've spent 3 years with him. Do you see what I'm saying? The difference?
Yeah, I do. But it's like, I guess it's hard to draw that line. Like when do you let your emotions just pass and be an emotion and nothing more? Or when do you say that that's my gut? Because it always feels like the truth in the moment.
Yes, but you also sound self-aware enough to later be like, yes, I overreacted, or yes, I was really emotional. You already said that at one point in this call.
That's true.
So that's a crucial difference, because a lot of people don't have the ability to do that, by the way. When Andy one of the reasons why we resolve conflict really well is that ability, by the way. It's the ability to be like, I overreacted, like I took this out on you, and whether that's 10 minutes later or an hour later, it's that ability to recognize that fault in yourself. So you've already told me, even just in passing, or told us in passing, that you do that. If you did feel your emotions were the truth for all time, even when your most upset moment, then that's different. But it does sound like you do reflect afterwards and maybe feel that you did go a little far.
I'm staying out of this one. I feel like I'm going to step in it. Sorry. You guys
Are
continue.
either of you very emotional? Would you say that?
Am I more emotional than anyone else you've ever
I think
dated?
we're both pretty emotionally stable, like average emotional. I don't think either of us get carried away with our emotions.
I think I've sort of reined mine in over the years, and trust me, it helps. Just gonna say this. It helps to be with someone who doesn't elicit emotional explosions from, like, that's a personality and compatibility thing.
That's a great point, because I have been very emotional in past relationships.
Same.
Because, and there you go,
Yes.
because it was wrong. And when it's wrong, you're so frustrated. You're so filled with like angst and sadness, and
You just rub each other wrong. Like, you don't. I have an ex who I fought with on a near daily basis, and I was emotional all the time. I was angry all the time.
The drama in a relationship is no good.
Well, it sounds like you guys
of,
don't have drama, but you're sort of tiptoeing around drama.
Yeah, but they should have drama.
Yeah,
They're
I almost
avoiding
feel
the
like drama would be more productive.
Yeah,
Like a healthy dose of drama.
Well, I don't know if I don't believe in drama in relationships at all, but it's more about letting something come to the surface so it can be dealt with, whether that means breaking up or solving it and growing from it. The fact that it's just sort of buried is arguably the least healthy thing.
Yeah. I really think you guys need to take a little time apart.
I think at least you need to have a serious conversation and make sure you're in an emotionally stable place to have that conversation. I say that just so you keep him on the same page as you.
Yeah.
And you don't drive him away by being.
Yeah. But just
I keep telling myself that, I'm considering, like, because I knew that I was unhappy. So in my head, I was telling myself, okay, I'm going through this relationship as if it's a break, but then I'm going to survey it. Because if we break, like, there's nothing that I need to know to be apart. But if we're together and functioning, then I'll know what's going on, and I can at least use that as evidence for me to draw my conclusions from.
Okay, Elle, I'm going to give you some hard truths right now. You're a self-aware, you're a self-aware person who's reflecting, thinking about whether you're reacting too much, if you're being unreasonable, if what he's doing means he doesn't care about you. For someone who is as detail and intel oriented and focused as you need to address this head on. It's the information you need. Like you said, you want to make decisions without regrets. There's a gaping hole right now of information that this doesn't feel like a 3-year relationship to me. And I know you don't live together, but regardless, 3 times a week is regularly for 3 years. There's a lack of understanding for each other. And I say that both ways. I feel very strong.
I really think you're young.
You have to remember how young you are.
You can't embrace the comfort or, say, oh, well, we have a peace now. When you say to me, like, you have a peace, like, that doesn't sound, it's like North Korea and South Korea. Like, there's peace, but it's a horrible situation. Not saying that your boyfriend is Kim Jong-un. But what I'm saying is that you are accepting a lower bar for this relationship than you should be. There's nothing wrong with you. You
have to remember that you're young. I don't want you to feel like when you said 26 is that old. That is the worst reason to stay in a relationship.
Yeah.
The worst.
If you try to fix this, and I feel like you're trying to fix him, you're trying to fix this, instead of thinking about the fact that maybe this isn't fixable. We've been at it for 3 years, and we've just come to this sort of stalemate, which is really what it is. You're at an emotional stalemate.
Yeah,
maybe it's time to just cut the cord. Look, if it's supposed to be
brave about it,
you got to be brave, because life is short. As much as when you're 26, you feel like you have all the time in the world, you could be 4 years more into this. You'll be 30 and you'll be like, wow, I wasted another 4 years. Nothing's been resolved. We still don't talk about conflict. He's still late every single time. I've missed like the first 30 minutes of every movie we've gone to see. You don't want to get to that place. So I think you might want to consider a little bit of a cut.
At the very least.
A little bit of a cut.
Just a slight cut.
Just like...
I feel so hesitant to ever tell anyone that
I don't want to tell you to break up with him, because I don't want to bear that responsibility. But I will say that you need to really think about what makes you happy. Are you happy? Have you given this enough effort that it deserves? And do you think you could find something better? And the comfort factor is so dangerous. Like, you're just like, oh, it's comfortable. I'm used to him. Like, it's like the codependency, they call it sometimes. But you have to just get out of that comfort zone and be like, I need to make a decision for myself. And the decision you need to make is, look, are you going to make this work? And if not, we need to be done. And even with that, I think you really need to put your foot down and say, we just need to take some time apart and rethink this. I don't want you to break up necessarily, but I think you need some time where, away from him, where you're not...
I think there's an order here. The first thing that needs to happen is a conversation that's not in the heat of the moment and not when you're, not something that made you blow up. It's like, I want to talk to you, and you sit down and you have a conversation and you have to let it all out.
Oh, I know, but I'm like a kettle that just like overflows. And that's like, once I talk about it, I'm going to start crying and get really emotional.
Fine. And then if you are afraid of crying while talking to your boyfriend of 3 years, then that's a whole other sign.
Yeah.
You want to be your rawest self with your partner in life.
Do you feel like as time passes, the certainty should always be on an incline, and that it never dips, like when it's the right person, as you both...
You know who has something to say about this is my husband here. You want to talk about...
The back of the mountain?
Well, you always talk about the incline and the plateau.
Yeah.
And
the relationship, I feel, should, start strong and continue to grow. Then it'll hit a plateau and it just sort of stays there. That's the way it goes. But when you have a relationship where it grows, hits a peak, and then there's a definitive backside of the hill, like you really feel it. And it's not, 15 years later. It's like 1, 2, 3 years later, or even a few months later. That's a problem.
And there is a caveat there. I mean, he did go through this family thing and there was trauma there. And so I want to be sensitive to that. But nonetheless,
I think that should have brought them together more. I don't like to believe that story doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, Andy's not convinced.
If he had a great trauma in his life or something, either whether it was positive or negative or indifferent, I think those kind of powerful emotional experiences should bring you guys closer. And I just don't, that whole thing doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't even make sense to me.
I strongly
feel
feel
the first test, isn't it?
Yeah. I strongly feel that you do not communicate in the same, like if we're going to talk about love languages.
Yeah, total different languages.
There is major love language difference
here. I keep picturing like you guys, it's like a cartoon character. It's like I feel like you guys are opposites. Like I really do. I feel like inside of her soul is like that backdrop is representative of how you're feeling about your partner. It's like crying out for freedom.
Yeah, I do. We'll have to show your back. We won't show you, but we'll show your backdrop because it really does. I'm feeling it right now.
Yeah, I keep looking at that and I'm like, that's what's in you. That's what's happening.
But to get down to what you need to do, there needs to be a conversation. I do think you need to not let it be at a point where the kettle is boiling. And I say that because we know that he sees you in that way. And I don't want you to shut him down before it's even begun. I don't want him to not take you seriously because you're in a really emotional state. It's okay if you get emotional while you're talking about it, but I don't even like that I need to make that mention by the thank you, qualification, because I think that preferably you could bring it up whenever you feel comfortable, but I don't get the impression that doing so when the kettle is boiling is a safe place because I don't know how seriously he'll take you or what you're saying. So that's number one. And then number two, I think, based on number one, you listen to Andy and maybe take a break, or you do a little snipping or something.
Or a big clean snip, really.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on what we're telling you? Does any of this ring true? Does it feel out of left field?
No, I mean, I've had these conversations with myself in my head so much that nothing is surprising anymore. Like that's just something that I already kind of expect to hear from an outsider looking in,
Do you think you'll take our advice? That's the big question.
I just keep putting it off. Like, I think I kind of know that it's true that, I can't function in this state anymore. Like, I know this, I'm so dissatisfied. I'm on a podcast talking about my relationship problems. Like, what? I mean, do you think any healthy relationship
Number one
can
red
be?
flag.
The fact that you're here is the red flag.
Yeah. Basically, I could give anybody who comes on this show the advice, break up with him, break up with him, break up with him.
I mean, don't you think that's true
You're
in
on
some
a
way?
podcast.
If anyone had to talk to people that was not their partner, then there must be something wrong, right?
I don't always think that's the case because sometimes it just, like I said, if this were just about the lateness and this, how you communicate, how seriously you take it, I truly was thinking if it's just unto itself, if it's not bleeding into the rest of the relationship, that unto itself it's not a deal breaker. It's not. I truly went into this not thinking I was going to tell you.
Well, I was actually saying, like, how much can we talk about how this guy's laid?
Yeah, and here we are. We're like at an hour, and we're like,
yeah. But now we see what's going on. That was just you were just putting out a lure. It was like a little piece of bait.
You lured us in.
When I was writing my email, because I'm in so much turmoil, I can write paragraphs upon paragraphs of my grievances. It all came out, and then I was like, no one's ever going to answer that on a podcast, so I just deleted it all and asked one scenario in which I thought we could productively discuss.
We heard your cry for help. We heard her cry for help.
That's actually very smart because I do get emails where I get, a lot of information, and then it's like 7 questions in point form. And it's best to start somewhere and then go from there. And that's exactly what has happened here. You told us this one thing, and then we're going to find out the other. We're inquisitive enough, I think, that we're going to find out the rest, whether you like it or not.
Yep, I'm excited. But I think you should think about your happiness. I think you should really stop trying to, force this. And if it's going to be, it's going to be. And it's going to be after you guys take a break. But I don't think you're happy here. I just don't sense it at all.
But I do wonder, am I destined for dissatisfaction forever?
Well, that's not something you can accept.
I always find a way to...
No.
But what if that's the truth? I feel like every artist So, well, I'm a creative. I'm a musician, and I feel like every songwriter that I respect, they have really shitty love lives. Like, I Google them and they're like, oh, I ended in divorce and suicide.
Well, they can't write good songs without a shitty love life,
exactly.
Right?
So I wonder, like, am I bringing this misfortune upon myself by always dramatizing bad emotions and attracting these things? Like,
maybe you need to date.
Have something to write
you
about.
need to date another artist, maybe.
Oh, and that comes back to what I was saying, how when you have to observe yourself, whether it's your gut, whether it's your intuition, or whether you're spiraling and creating problems where there aren't any, or overreacting to things, or going down dark paths that are not serving you or your relationship. That is something you need to work on with yourself, unfortunately. But I am a musician. I am a creative type. And, you know, are there exceptions I made in our relationship? Sure. Like, are there, you know...
Oh, I think it would be so helpful to hear like what an exception is.
Yeah, what exceptions are we talking about?
Well, I mean, Andy, an exception. Andy is moody. Andy is moody. And my father is moody, and it's not my favorite thing about him. But I love like 99.999% about him. So I'm not going to, it's not worth it to focus on that. It's more so I recognize the mood he's in, maybe sometimes try to feed him because 80% of the time it's hanger.
Mm-hmm. And wait, moody meaning like sullen for no reason, or just
not
like
no reason.
brittle with the mood?
I think that it's more like things affect him deeply. And so whether it's bad news or good news, you know, he will fluctuate a lot. He's not as even keel as I am.
Or if I haven't eaten, as you said.
Yeah, or if you haven't eaten. I'm more even keel than you in terms of mood, feel like.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, so
I relate to Andy.
But see, that's an example of like
moody power
of one thing that unto itself is not a deal breaker. Is it, if I could change it about him, would I? Sure. But I know it's a waste of my time and effort to focus on that or to attempt to change it because it's not possible. So it's, you know, whatever. I love everything else about him. My point in going there is the satisfaction. There is no such thing as a perfect person or a perfect relationship. But the best way to gauge whether or not it's right is if you are happy. Mm-hmm. Satisfied is not a great way to gauge that because satisfied is kind of a moving target. You know, like
your benchmark can change all the time.
Yes. But happiness, whether you're really happy or just slightly happy, you know happy how it feels.
Yeah. And whether the world is falling apart around you, it doesn't matter. You still have that happiness because of your partner.
Yes, that's important. Your relationship should feel like a safe place that brings you joy, not another thing you need to watch your step in. I
think today you should think about being the first day of the rest of your life. Never been said.
I hope that was helpful.
It was. It really was.
It might have been hard to hear, but I feel strongly.
Yeah, I've said everything to myself already, so it's good to hear it from other people as well.
Put it into action.
Yeah.
It is time.
Yes.
Sorry, that was hard.
No, I mean, it's okay. It's always hard, isn't it? Everything is hard.
And you have to question which things shouldn't be hard.
Yeah, that's true.
Some things should not be hard. Yeah. Hopefully who you spend your life with is not a hard decision to make or a hard relationship to be in.
And it's probably the most
important. Do you guys think that all right relationships shouldn't be hard?
Yes. Easy.
Really? But what about the people who just like fight all the time, but they're just like, we are with each other, we're stuck with each other always, and
that's not a relationship I want to be in.
Yeah, that's nothing I want to be part of.
You know, life gets hard. People get sick, people have children, you have to juggle jobs, people get laid off, and there's so much shit that will happen. You're 26 and 28. This should be the best time.
Yeah.
This should be the easy part. It's the rest that's hard. And because it's easy together, you can withstand the future hard together.
Mm-hmm. And on that hard note.
Elle, I want a follow-up.
Yep.
Okay. I'm holding you accountable.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for your time and accommodating.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, good luck.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, Andy.
Whew.
Yeah, I kind of... What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, here I was thinking that would be a mundane discussion about guys who are late.
I know. That really veered off.
But
drastically.
But in a sort of almost a beautiful way. I mean, I feel like she really kind of had a little bit of a discovery there.
Do you think I kind of felt like we were telling her things she already knew.
I almost feel like she was looking for a sounding board, just like this kind of us to just validate. Did you just say validation?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
Oh,
That's what it might have been. But I think that she is going to do something.
I mean, sometimes you just need a kick in the pants from a stranger.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Sometimes a stranger's opinion is worth more than 10 close friends.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah,
just because it gives you a little objective clarity. I knew this day would come. I didn't expect it to come so soon. But, having a relationship podcast where it's inevitable you're going to hear someone's story and be like, oh my God, you guys really need
to break up. Yeah.
And maybe not break up, but at least take a break. And I feel so like I'm a little like I have a hard time with that because I don't want to be the reason why anyone breaks up. But at the same time, I cannot lie. No.
And I honestly, like, I feel better that she's on the other side of the earth so this guy doesn't come after me.
Yeah, I have a feeling Dear Shandy isn't huge in Singapore, unfortunately.
Well, it will be. We're internationally known as of now.
Anyway, that was a tough one, but I stand by everything we said based on the information we were given.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of Dear Shandy not being big on the other side of the world, you know how you can help Dear Shandy grow. That was a good segue. Please, if you enjoyed what you heard today, you can like, subscribe, hit notification bells, and leave iTunes reviews.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a big one. Because, we're still a baby podcast. And yeah, we want to keep doing this and keep growing and keep giving you our, like, really brutally honest opinions.
Keep ending relationships.
God. That one got so much darker than I meant for it to, but...
Look, in the end, all we're doing is trying to make her life better. It's hard work. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, it is hard work. I'm like kind of like...
I'm sweating.
I'm a little worn.
Yeah, I was glad you did a lot of that heavy lifting. I was just like, I don't know if I want to step in this.
I took on like the kind of role I would with a friend on that one. It was hard to take sort of a back seat and sort of be... of course I'm objective, but there became a point where I was like...
Well, I liked her.
I liked her too.
I wanted to be happy.
I know. I want to give her a hug and also shake her.
She was great. She's not doing the right things right now in this relationship.
And crucially is aware of it.
And is aware.
Yeah, which is an interesting factor there.
Totally.
All right. I think that's it for this episode. God, it really went in a different direction. What's happening?
Damn, I need a drink.
I know. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Dear Shandy. Dear Shandy.